All right, everybody. We have a project management forum speech about empowering leadership. Empowering leadership is about discovering your team members' strengths and allowing them to use them to accomplish their part of the project. We often hyper-focus on a person's weakness and limit them as a result, but if we can create a habit of finding a person's strengths, we will accomplish more as a team. Now, our speaker, Michael Stinnett, is a coach dedicated to empowering people to achieve more than they believed they could. With over 10 years of experience asking the right questions to help people gain clarity and perspective, he has developed a system for setting goals and helping people achieve them. His ability to see the obstacles you may not see and help you look within to find creative ways to overcome them is what sets him apart from other coaches. Whether you are an inspiring leader looking to develop critical skills, an organization aiming to build a thriving high-value culture, or an individual seeking career fulfillment, he is here to equip and empower you. Please join me in welcoming Michael Stinnett for Empowering Leadership.
Yeah, thank you, Jonathan, and thank you everyone in PMUT for this opportunity to be here with you via Zoom, of course, but I am super excited to get to share with you in these capacities. And I'm also excited to see your growth as you continue working on different strategies and skills in public speaking and how those are going to help you in communication with your teams. I do want to go ahead and share my screen with you now, and give me one moment to go into full screen mode and all of that. We'll get there. So the idea is to be an empowering leader. Let me jump there. Good, moving things around. All right. So we're going to talk about leadership and how to be a 5E leader. So what I'm going to do in this is I'm going to walk you through 5 words that start with the letter E that are essential traits in high quality leadership. First, would you use the chat to put one adjective to describe the type of leader you want to be? And what I mean is, what type of leader do you want your team to say that you are? Not an ideal, but your team. What do you want them to say about you? One adjective to describe you. Drop that in the chat and let's see what your thoughts are. I see several: empowering, engaging, energetic, supportive. I feel like some people are trying to use my E words. I like it. Supportive, understanding, empathetic. I like it. I like it. What we know is that leaders are essentially responsible for getting things done. If things go well, the leader gets credit. If things go poorly, the leader gets blame. But what I believe is that as a leader, it is important to get the right people in the right roles to get the right results. I would love this if you can relate to this idea of the value of getting the right people in the right roles to get the right results. Like, share an emoji, go into the reactions section, give us a thumbs up, a hand clap, a strong arm, do something to let us know that you've seen this play out. And here's what I mean. Maybe you've been on a team where there was the wrong person in a role and you didn't get the right results. One of the key roles of a leader, of a project manager, is to make sure that all of the people on the team are in the best place for them to accomplish the best results for the team. And so, is it okay with the group if I open this up for conversation, or would you rather me just run through the presentation?
Conversation's good.
I did not understand that.
I believe he said discussion is good.
Discussion is good. Great. Well, let's talk about it then. Tell us a time where you've seen the wrong people in the roles that they were in and you didn't get the results. Has anyone ever seen that?
Yes.
Yeah, well, share, like, what is the problem there and how can we solve that? Because we're all going to be affected by that again. None of us are going to be on perfect teams. And so we have to learn how to identify the right people so that we can get them in the right roles if we're going to get the right results. So any ideas? Yeah, go ahead.
Years ago, manager, there was a particular person that talked a good game and really believed in his own abilities. He had a lot of bright ideas, but he was lazy. Anyway, he had the ear of the manager, and he came up, suggested a whole bunch of ideas, and he suggested that the manager share the work among the new grads that had just started. It went terribly, and of course, the grads got the blame. The person that was so brilliant in coming up with these ideas and was managing the process from on high, pretty much blamed the team, even though they were never there. There was a lot of really great ideas that sounded good, but the implementation were poor, and the ideas, in my opinion, wasn't thought out very well. 2 people left the company because of that.
Yeah, it is. I wish that were a less common story, but we know, well, I hope that you know, strong leaders take the blame when things don't go well. They shield their team because they realize that working for their team is how you get things done. There is no such thing as a leader who gets things done alone. And so thank you for that example. One more person, I'll run through my part quickly. I really love hearing your stories.
I guess I can go. I've been in positions where I've seen people promoted to management positions and dealing with people, and they didn't have the people skills, the soft skills necessary to motivate, like all the adjectives that you were reading out, they lacked. And so they kind of ruled with an iron fist and didn't have any trust. So it was, the results weren't there. And then you have people the team turning on the manager. And the lack of respect was actually both ways.
Yeah. No, that is so true. I think that we have moved from a time in our history where a dominating leader was the go-to. And that is no longer what companies, what teams are looking for. Everyone wants results. You get hired for results. But getting the right people in the right place will get you those results. Now, I want to talk about how we do that. And so that's what we're going to do as we move through. Here are the 5 E's. So if anyone's taking notes, feel free to do that. I'm happy to send Jonathan this slideshow, this deck, and you can pass it out if you want, or throw it away. Do whatever you want with it. So here are, in my opinion, the 5 E's. There are hundreds others, but you, as a leader, it is your responsibility to equip your team, to enable them with the opportunities, to empower them with authority, to engage them for development, and to evaluate them for continued growth. And I believe that if we do these 5 things, that we will get the teams that produce the results that we are looking for. So let's talk about each of these at one at a time. I hit the wrong button. Sorry, I have these pictures up so I can see everyone. And so I'm trying to navigate on one screen, and I usually have 2 screens. So I feel like I'm not working well. All right. The first E is equip. Equip your team with the right tools. If you do not equip your team with the right tools, they will not do the right job. And you've probably all been in a situation where you were expected to do something, but you did not have the tools needed to get that thing done. And so some of the tools that I would like to encourage you to make sure that your team have are proper communication. Communication is a tool because it gets a job done. And we have all been affected by communication. So let's make sure that our teams are never negatively affected because we communicate clearly, we communicate consistently, and we communicate evenly, which means everyone gets the communication that they need. Let's give our teams the right information. Have you ever had a manager not give you all of the information that was necessary, and then you made a mistake only to figure out that if you would have known all of the information, you wouldn't have made that mistake? So let's not be the managers that lead our teams to make mistakes because we didn't give them the information. And let's make sure that our teams have all of the resources that they need. If we equip them with the right resources, they will do the right job. So I know a woman, she is a designer in an architect firm, and she needed certain software to get certain things done in the firm, but the firm didn't want to buy that software. And so as opposed to spend it was a mediocre, like a couple of $100. Spend a couple $100, they could have saved the time, but they didn't see the value in the software. They don't realize that they had to pay her to do the work that she could have gotten done much quicker and more efficiently. And it actually would have saved them money to buy the software because they're paying her to do the work. And if she could have done the work in 30 minutes as opposed to 4 hours, then they would have made their money back. Often we don't think about that. So it's equip your team with the right tools to get the job done. Communicate with them, give them the information, give them the resources. Would anyone like to share some insight here on what tools you believe you need to equip your team with?
Almost a given, but definitely communication tools, especially in an online world. And at the minimum, most software you can get open source versions of it, so there really shouldn't be too much of a, but communication and diagramming, I would say.
Yeah, no, that's good. I think that if whatever the role requires, make sure they have the ability to do it. That I think should be the bare minimum. All right, so that is the first E. Let's move on to the second E. And if you ever want to stop me, just raise your hand or do something. And if I don't see it, then just unmute yourself and yell at me, because I will stop, because listen, your whole mantra, right? Let managers find their voice, or leading people to find their voices. That's what I want to do for you. So if I do not do that, you have to help me. All right, moving on. After equipping your team with the right tools to get the job done, you have to enable them with opportunity. And the reason I chose this word is we often equip our team with the right tools, and then we will empower them with authority, which is going to be the next one, but we actually didn't give them an opportunity to use the tools that we've given them. When we equip our team with the right tools, and then we find opportunities for them to use those tools, we will be so amazed at what they get done. Because, and I'm a huge fan of little sayings that are hopefully memorable. If you don't like them, then don't hurt my feelings, just pretend to like them. Our teams can't do what we never let them do. Do you agree? Mm-hmm. Like, it's pretty simple. Like, they'll never get done what we don't let them do, right? And then we will wonder why they didn't get it done. And the reason they didn't get it done is because we didn't let them do it. So it's like, don't be the reason that your people don't do their job. That would be what I would say. Moving back, I went too far. I promise I will get this. The quote there at the bottom, you never know what all a person can do until you let them do it. I just want to encourage you. This might also be something that you need to say to yourself. You never know what all you can do until you let yourself do it. Sometimes we're a little bit hesitant to try new things. We're a little bit hesitant to put ourselves out there because we're afraid it might not work. What if I fail? Well, it's like failing is necessary for growing. So don't be afraid of failing. Just don't let failing be the end of your story. Learn something and keep moving forward. So enable your team with opportunity. Would anyone like to add some insight to this?
Well, I can share an example of enabling somebody. For my other Toastmasters club, I organized an open house, and there was a member who signed on to work with me on that event. And she was so enthusiastic. She did several amazing things to organize that event that I can't do well myself. And I found out that letting her take the reins and run that project with me really helped. She made a great flyer for the event. She had us do a debate night for our club. And I think by letting her run with it, I enabled her, and I was amazed what she could do. And I envisioned her taking on higher level leadership roles in the club in the future.
Yeah, that's so good. Thank you, Jonathan, for being that type of leader. Go ahead. Yes, Michael.
I can share an example. A colleague I worked with for a number of years was a manager underneath me as a director. Over time, I allowed him to do more and more, to take on more, delegated more and more authority and responsibility to him. He was leading his own projects, and eventually he's now a director himself. So I really was able to help him grow in his career and become a director. So really, when I'm managing employees, I try and manage myself out of a job and to make sure that they're all growing. So I kind of don't want them to stay in the roles. I want them to grow out of them.
Oh, that's true leadership. So thank you for that. Yes.
Could I just quickly throw one at you, Michael?
Yes.
On my first job out of school, my mentor drilled this into my head. The reward for good work is more work. And I have proven that multiple times.
No, that's good. What is one of the fears or one of the reasons that people do not enable their teams with opportunity? What is something that might keep us from doing it?
Maybe
go ahead.
jealousy.
Jealousy, sure.
Yeah, I'm afraid of losing the leadership power because you're empowering somebody else, you know?
Yeah,
Fear of
especially
losing
if it's good.
control over others or a hold over others.
Mhm.
I was going to say that there's a phrase called outshining the master. So trying to look better than your manager.
Yeah, that's also true. I want my team to shine because as the leader, I get credit. So it's like, let them go, right? They'll be awesome and you'll be awesome. All right, yeah, go ahead. I think it was Ryan, maybe. I'm not real sure. Yeah.
There's a theory that some managers fear that if you become empowered and realize your full value, you'll fly the coop and leave to greener pastures. So therefore, that manager will either try to be the spoke in the wheel and control everything going through them, or continually pull on those around them so that they never really reach their value.
Yeah. No, that's true. And the whole idea about your fear of people leaving for greener pastures should mean fertilize your grass and add water more often. If we make our grass green, people don't look other places. And so, all right, now we're going to move on to empowering people with authority. And this to me is the number one part. You can equip your people with the tools, you can enable them with the opportunity. But if you do not empower them with the authority to do the work, then work won't get done. Here's what I mean. We can't be bottlenecks to progress. Okay, some other person on your team likely needs to be able to make a decision just in case they can't get to you. Have you ever been in a position where the supervisor, the manager, the owner was the bottleneck? Every decision had to go through that person, and so everything moves so much slower. Like, it stymies progress. We can't make any progress because we have to wait for this one person to make a decision. So let your people make decisions, or you won't have people who can make decisions. If we don't let them make decisions, they will leave, and we will be stuck with people who don't know how to make decisions. Do you agree or disagree?
I agree.
Totally agree.
Yeah, and I have a situation, a scenario where I think, that some people are afraid to be able to make the decision, that you almost have to push them and give them the permission to do it, where they feel like they have to come to you. And what I found that has been helpful in my situation is to almost give them a very direct, if this is the scenario, you can make the decision. Don't wait for me to make that, make it happen. So some people are afraid to do it, even if they're empowered.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. And a lot of times that stems from a past experience where they got in trouble for something, but it also can stem from even further experiences where they weren't allowed to do certain things and they never felt like they had a voice. And so that you're doing that and taking the time to communicate clear expectations is so valuable. That's part of the equipping them with the right tools. Expectations are tools. If we show them what the expectations are, then they know how to get to those. You will accomplish more when you do less. If you let your team do the work, more work gets done. Now, I want to talk a little bit about that. Here are some words that I believe are important for empowering your team. In the chat, let's add some more. So everybody jump in and start typing away. Make it a race. Be the first person to say a word. The grammarian's going to love us. Okay, the impetus for empowerment is, choose one, right? And there we added impetus. Can we get credit for that? We said it twice just then. It was great. But you have to delegate things, right? You have to trust your team. If you don't trust your team, you won't delegate things. You won't give them authority. If you don't respect them, if you don't value them. And how many, let's say, how many of you have ever had somebody tell you that they respect you or that they value, but that they never delegated anything, they never empowered you, so you didn't feel it? Right? Actions speak. So let's make sure that our teams know that we value them, we respect them, we see their worth, and we give them authority. Right? Any thoughts?
Probably just means here in those 4 words that these are the actions really that shows empowerment. The fact that you're giving away, you're delegating something means that I trust that you can do a good job with this. And I respect that you will do it. I value your knowledge. I value you. I mean, all this shows that, listen, I empower you with all that, and I trust that you will be able to do it.
Yeah, and that's such a great thing. Now, here's the challenge, okay, everyone? Most empowering leaders will do the first 3 things. They will equip their teams, they will enable their teams, and they will empower their teams, but we often stop short at that. And I want to go a little bit further, and I want to give you 2 more E's, because I believe that when we stop short, we actually do our team a disservice. I think we also have to engage them for development. I empower you, but I don't leave you alone. I empower you, but you're not isolated. However, that does not mean that I'm a micromanager. Who loves micromanagers? Who loves the people watching over your shoulder because they don't actually believe that you can get the job done? Did anyone put that you want to be described as a micromanaging project manager? Probably not, because no one wants to be like that. Micromanagers kill growth. Engaging managers create growth. Here's what I mean. Have you ever been on a team where you had a role in the project, but you weren't quite sure how to get something done, but your manager, your supervisor, was engaged with you and you were able to figure it out? That's beautiful. And that's the kind of leader I want to be. And that's the kind of leader I want you to be, because that's the kind of leader your team wants. Your team wants leaders who will walk with them, not just tell them to do it, but they want you to walk with them until they're confident they can do it. So engage them for development. Coach them through the process. Don't just empower people and let them go. Empower them and then be engaged. Yes.
Could I make a quick comment there, Michael?
You bet.
Early in my career, the CEO of our company was also the chancellor of a local university. And I really looked up to her. And the task that I was entrusted with, I had no clue how to do it. I ended up going to her and explaining to her that I've done all of this work and I don't know what to do. As much as I highly respected her, what caused my respect for her to shoot through the roof? She turned around and said, oh, that's okay. I don't know either. And this is like a chancellor. However, what she did do then is get 4 people on the phone in a conference call, started the ball off with these subject matter experts. And within 2 days' time, we got the problem solved. But what was amazing, I thought she had all the answers. She pretty much just told me straight out. She knows how to get answers when it's important, but she did not know. But she facilitated me getting the answers that empowered me.
Yeah. No, that's a great story. And I'm glad you had that type of leader in your career. Sometimes leaders feel the responsibility to give all the answers. I think we need leaders who learn how to ask more questions. All right, more about engaging and how do we do it, okay? Because leaders, at this line at the bottom, leaders by definition are taking people somewhere. I'm not leading you if we're not going somewhere, right? So I have to have an end in mind. There's a destination in mind, and I'm engaged with you throughout this process, throughout this journey. 3 things: give consistent communication. In fact, communicate until you feel like you're over communicating. Communicate until you feel like you're talking too much. You're giving them too much. By that point, you're probably almost giving them enough. There will be very few times in your management career when people feel like you communicate too often. Then provide active feedback. When you engage with them, active feedback. What can I act on with it? Like, don't just tell me something that doesn't have a solution for me to get better at that thing, for me to develop at that thing. And then mentorship. When you're walking with your team members, you've equipped them, you've enabled them, you've empowered them, and now you're mentoring them on what to do. Just as, Ryan, is your example of your leader didn't know for sure either, so you figured it out together almost, right? And that's mentorship. That type of leadership changes people's lives. It inspires people to be that type of leader for others. And so I hope we can all do that. Any thoughts on engaging people? Before we move on, we're going to move to the last E. And I really struggled with this when I've thought about this for years when I was putting these together. It's so hard for me not to include, like, be enthusiastic, be energetic, be encouraging, all of these other E words, right? There's so many. All right. Evaluate them for growth. You've enabled them, you've equipped them, enabled them, empowered them, engaged with them throughout the process. And you can't stop there, because if you stop there, they may never figure out what to do next. And my line at the bottom says, leaders never leave people where they found them. Leaders always help people go somewhere else. They always help people figure something out. They always help people get a little bit better. And it doesn't have to be a lot of bit better. It can be a little bit better. A little bit better is still better. James Clear in the book Atomic Habits says, get 1% better. And sometimes we shoot for these, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that. I'm going to lose 20 pounds. I'm going to get faster. I'm going to get smarter. It's like, just how about lose 1 pound? And then do it again 20 times. It's like, we can get there, but evaluate your team for growth. Now, this does not mean criticize your team for growth. People don't get better through criticism. They get angry, they get bitter through criticism. The right people want to grow. If you have people on your team who do not want to grow, first, make sure they're not in the wrong role. They may be in the wrong role and they don't see a path forward because of the role that they're in. And so they're not growing. But it's not that they don't want to grow, it's that they don't know how in that position. Does that make sense? but the right people want to grow and the right leaders help them grow. Do what it takes for your team to grow. In fact, your team should be almost cycling through because you're developing them, which means they're moving on. They're not staying with you for years and years and years. They're moving on. They're leading their own teams because they were with you. And people who work with you lead people. Some ideas for evaluating people. Do performance evaluations. How often should you do a performance evaluation?
Probably once a year, but I prefer to do them as part of my regular one-on-ones with my team. I hate waiting till the end of the year.
No, I think that's good. The end of the year puts so much pressure on the end of the year, right? And it's not as active. So I would love to give you feedback in real time. Let me evaluate you on this project. How did this 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 100, however long this project was? Let me tell you how things are going along there. I think that could be helpful. Nothing wrong if you do it once a year. It's just hard to pull something up that happened 11 months ago. Why did we not address that sooner? Like if you did something awesome 9 months ago, why am I waiting to tell you about it? So provide constructive feedback, because if it's constructive, it means that it's building them. Coach them, which, Michael, I appreciate that. Your comment there made me think about that, how you're coaching people through this process in real time. And then provide recognition, like when people do things and they do them well. Make sure that other people know that they did it. That will lead them to do more things. And when we praise people in public, they will be loyal. Leaders never leave people where they found them. So equip, enable, empower, engage, evaluate. Those are the 5 E's of leadership, according to me. Where can you grow? So let's talk about that for just a moment, okay? Which of these feels most natural to you first? Feel free to drop it in the chat if you want, or unmute yourself and just have a conversation. But which of these just feels most natural to you? Like, which one are you best at? Are you best at equipping people with the right tools because you know what tools there are out there and you know what gets the job done? Or are you really good at empowering people? And it's okay to struggle with that. Some people are like, I want to empower people, but I'm just afraid that the job won't get done. And I understand there's room for growth there, but like, where are your strengths? How about this? Which of these is the most difficult for you? I remember a time when I was the leader of a team and I thought that I was empowering them. I thought that I equipped them. I thought that I was doing all of the things, but then the job wasn't getting done. And I realized that I hadn't engaged with them enough and I hadn't evaluated them for growth. If something wasn't getting done, you know what I would do? I would do it and make sure it got done, but I wouldn't talk to them. I'm so glad that I learned through that. And so I'm not doing that now. But the evaluating people for growth, that's the hard part for me. What if they take it wrong? What if they're offended? What if they were doing their best? So let me tell you this, and I hope that this hits well. If you truly do the other 4 E's, and then you go to evaluate your team, they will thank you if they want to grow. And if they don't want to grow at that point, they might not be the right fit for your team. Okay, that's all that I have on 5E of the 5E leader, be a 5E leader. I move fast. So it's like, I didn't really want to do a keynote presentation. I wanted to have more conversation with you. So I hope that's okay. Final thoughts? Constructive feedback, active feedback. Tell me what I could do differently. How could I have been better?
It's a great presentation. Thank you so much. Gave us a lot of food for thought.
Yeah, thanks, Arlie. I appreciate your LinkedIn stuff there too. If anybody wants to connect on LinkedIn, feel free.
Actually, Michael, thank you for a really good presentation. If you could take another 2 minutes and just elaborate a little bit more on that thought-provoking part about if you do the first 4 well, equip, enable, empower, engage, then the evaluation comes a little bit easier. If you could just elaborate a wee bit more on that, because I think evaluation is probably tricky for many people.
Sure. Now, these are thoughts on my experience and how things have worked for me. So there's no guarantee this works for everybody, but I do believe that if as a leader, you've equipped your team with the right tools, you've communicated with them, you've given them the information and the resources, you've enabled them with opportunity, you've empowered them with authority so they know that you trust them, you've engaged with them so you're walking along with them, that they will be more open to your evaluation of them. Now, I think Michael nailed it when he said that it needs to be more frequent, or he implied that it needed to be more frequent, I think. Right, Michael? I think that is key when you're walking alongside them. It allows you to give them real-time growth opportunities, real-time feedback. Hey, did you see how that thing didn't really work out the way that we wanted it to? What if we would have tried this? Or, hey, why did you do it that way? What were you hoping would happen right there? Did it work the way that you wanted it to? And like, ask questions when you evaluate them too, to see what they were thinking, as opposed to make judgment. Often we make judgment when we should have asked a question. Oh, I'm also, I'm down for question and answer. If anybody just wants to throw some random questions at me, feel free. I like ping pong.
Well, I don't see any questions, Michael, and it's 7:51. So did you want to maybe have a closing thought for your presentation to sum up? Or I guess maybe you did that already.
Well, it depends. I thought I did that already, but if you think I didn't, then maybe I didn't do such a good job.
No, I think you did an excellent job. And I really appreciated the interactive nature of your presentation. And I think the 5 E's are quite good thoughts and procedures or approaches that leaders should have. I'd like everybody to give Michael a round of applause and thank him for his presentation.